Welcome to Model Engineers Laser. My name is Holly and this is part 6 of our jack build. Those of you who have been following along will notice that I've now put the frame in a build stand. It was like this to take to the Elsa car show for those of you who saw it there. I don't know why I was putting that back in shot. Need to get rid of it. So these build stands are available from ourselves at Model Engineers Laser. They come in a variety of gauges from 16mm, gauge 1, or if you're doing a 2.5-inch gauge, 3-inch gauge, and a 5-inch gauge. So they do go quite large. What we like about these, if I turn it round and just tilt it slightly, can you see that this here, this is a brake, so we can use that brake on this disc here to hold the frame in place while we work on it. And then by releasing the brake, I can spin it round, do a 360 there, and go all the way back again to hold it at any angle while I'm working. In the other videos where you saw me putting on the cranks, it would have probably been a bit helpful there. I want to turn it around, I left the brake on. You can see that I've put some paper in mine here, just to protect my paintwork. Having done it all, I don't want to damage it any further. I'll show you how it converts into a rolling road at a later point. That's what these are for, but we'll do that a few videos down the line. We don't have to do that now. So in my last video, we talked about, I'll turn that around, I want to show you. We talked about how these are loose in the bushes at the moment because we were going to put that washer in. I have got those washers. I haven't put them in just yet because the next job that we're going to do is where the grub screws are. Can you see those grub screws there? The two grub screws that hold the wheels on the axle. I'm going to zoom in, so the camera's going to go a bit weird as I zoom in. You see there? That's it. So the two grub screws here, what we're going to do is put a small flat on the axles where they sit, and that will enable the grub screws just to tighten a little, put my teeth back in, will allow the grub screws to fit a little bit more. So hopefully these grub screws will have left a little mark on the axles, and we're going to use a small file just to take a little bit off where it's left its mark. So before I start taking all this apart again, what I am going to do is just go into these grub screws and just tighten and loosen them just a couple of times in the hope that they leave a mark on the axle. That one's moved, so I hope that one's left a mark where it was. Just in and out to mark. That one's moved as well. Oh well. Lovely. So now just going to do them one at a time. As they slide off. We should hope to see there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. And just in between my thumbs there, it's the little score mark, and then It should be just there. I don't know if you can see it, you'll have to trust me that it's there. So the next thing I'm going to do is just take just a flat file, move away a bit, and then there they are. I just want to put a flat on those. I'm trying to do it so you can see in the camera. I'm going to pause and readjust the camera and hope that I can. How if I just zoom it? Sorry, it's going to go weird again. There we go. Tighten that up. And then give me something to hold on to. No. You see, I've just put a little flat on that there, just to take and give a nice flat edge for that grub screw to sit onto. I'll do the same. Okay. I've moved. They're not perfectly on top of each other, but that's okay. The wheels aren't meant to be perfectly in line with the grub screws. That's not how they would have been done. So let's move that back into shot. Now, we are going to, in the same order that it said previously, we're going to put, because this is the rear and we've got our cranks on the rear, through the bush. Again, we want to make sure that our wheels go on the right way round, so the grub screws sit in the middle of the axle rather than facing the frames. Then it's going to go through the other bush. Now, if you remember, we were talking about those invisible washers from earlier. So we're going to put one of those on now. I've got them. Turned it for you to see. That goes on there to take up the slack. And then now these need to be 90 degrees from each other with the right hand leading. So we have my left hand one with the pin pointing to the top, and then to have my right hand leading, that needs to be pointing forward. So my left hand one is pointing this way and my right hand one is pointing that way. I'm going to lock my frame because that's the whole point of being able to lock it, is to have your hands free. Or not. Yeah, I'll line that back up again in a second once the screw's taken. Right, so left hand crank upward, right hand crank forward. Like that. Nice. And tight. Now, can you see how by making that washer slightly smaller you can't see it anymore? Makes me happy. So now we have put our flats on our axles. I can see the one just there. Now we need to re-gauge because obviously that file is significantly wider than our tolerance for error. So, oh, sorry, just kick the camera. That's a washer for that side in a moment. So I've got my little gauge tool again. So this is where we're going to get it right, because hopefully it will be the last time that we do it, she says. Right, apologise if I don't get this right. Like I said, I'm trying to do it on camera at the same time so you can see. Now, I've got my rule. I remember from last time it was 6mm from side to side, either end, I'm a gauge, but it's now in the frame. So I'm just going to take advantage of that and re-measure for everything. So that to there, 6mm, which means that to there should be 6mm, right? What I didn't do, see, I told you these videos will have all the errors in, is make sure the grub screws are facing upward. So I can onto, so there's my flat, so I can see it. That's where I want my grub screws, I want that. 6mm from there. Moved. And it's on a little flat I made. Right, there you go. That should hopefully not go anywhere. Tilt this slightly, so I'm sorry if you can't quite see it on the camera, but I don't want to be fighting gravity at this bit. If you're doing this at home and not trying to film it at the same time, make gravity help you and turn it that way and let the wheel sit on the gauge, because I mean you can see it there like that. So essentially the gravity is held, I've got that screwed on tightly, and then this wheel is held up against my gauge, and I'm going to measure, and it is 6mm. So that's 6mm. And that's more than 6mm. See? Measure twice. Just needs to go a smidge that way. Right, and again, so tilt it so gravity is helping me. Put my little gauge guide in, measure again. You can see how the build gauge is coming into its own at this point. The wheels just spun around slightly. Keeping my gauge plate in so I can tell if it's moved. There we go. and that. And my wheel set with my cranks, with my right hand leading and utilising my flats. There we go. I'm going to pause the video and do exactly the same on the front one. And there you have it. I've done both sets now. So just to reiterate, when you're doing it, you need to make sure that the right hand side is leading, and if you are using washers because the axles rattle in the bushes, then they need to go on the right hand side. And again, for the front one, the right hand one needs to lead and the right hand one has the washer. And don't forget to use your gauge to measure your wheels. I did find the front one harder to do because I was previously resting that on here, and I couldn't do that on the second one because I've got nowhere to rest it on. However, I did then realise I'm not filming, so I can just move my hands. I did it, it was fine. Just, you guys won't find it as difficult as I did. We'll call it that for this video. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our page, and we'll look forward to you joining us next time. Thank you.